Chief Elvin Flett says it's normal for 12 people to be living in the same home. Not only are there not enough homes, the chief says the ones they have are falling apart.
25% of homes in St. Teresa Point are severely decaying and should be condemned. But there is nowhere for our residents to go.
The community is launching a proposed class action lawsuit against the federal government for failing to fix its housing crisis. A statement of claim filed in federal court Monday seeks $5 billion in compensation from Canada. It also seeks an order that Ottawa fund and build homes for class members.
Together we must demand the housing that we deserve.
St. Teresa Point is a fly-in community 465 kilometers north of Winnipeg with a population of around 3,400 people. Flett says 467 families are in need of a new home, but he says the community received funding to build just 20 homes last year. It's far from the only First Nation facing a housing crisis, and Flett is calling on others to join the legal action. Grand Chief Scott Harper represents 4 First Nations in the Island Lakes region and says housing affects many other aspects of people's lives.
Usually when you go home, you want to go and rest, but with the overcrowding, there is no place to rest at home.
Michael Rosenberg, the lawyer for St. Teresa Point, says members of the proposed class include First Nations, where the majority of the population lives with a shortage of 2 bedrooms or more, and in housing that requires major repairs.
This is about ending the housing crisis and ensuring that it does not recur.
Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs Grand Chief Kathy Merrick says in some cases multiple generations of one family have to live together. In St. Teresa Point, 32 people share this 4-bedroom home.
When we talk about 32 people living in a home, can you imagine that?
The proposed class action still has to be certified. CBC has reached out to the federal government for comment. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
4 years ago, the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls released its final report. Some of the inquiry's 231 calls for justice outlined how police should improve searches for missing persons. As the CBC's Stephanie Cram reports, many families say police still are not doing enough to search for their loved ones.
I just remembered what they were saying is that we just need more phone calls and then we'll make a report. Like, what kind of answer is that?
Gina Mandaman recalled what police told her family when they reported her relative missing. CBC is not using her real name to protect her. We are calling her Cindy. Mandaman lives in Kenora, over 200 kilometers away from where the 37-year-old was last seen in downtown Winnipeg.
And it made me feel like sad because, we're just brushed away.
Vivian Ketchum saw a post on Facebook that Cindy was missing. A family acquaintance, she decided to do her own search.
So I went downtown from Portage and Main all the way up to Portage Place, searching, talking to security guards and the police.
A week later, the family got a call from police. Cindy had been found. She was at the Health Sciences Centre.
She's sick with double pneumonia and I think kidney infection.
Cindy's family says they felt left in the dark. Police never released a public missing persons report, and they say police weren't transparent about what they were doing to locate Cindy.
Yeah, that's really sad that we can't depend on that.
Over a decade ago, families of MMIWG say police did not take the reports of missing loved ones seriously. The family of Amber Gibosh were told by Winnipeg police that she was probably out partying in 2010. And the family of Jennifer Catchaway say RCMP told them the same thing. Give her a few days, she was probably partying when they reported the 18-year-old missing in 2008. Winnipeg Police Chief Danny Smythe says there's no wait period to report someone missing.
Missing persons is taken seriously. I think it's important that we have an effective intake in that, and we've taken a lot of steps in the last 10 years to improve that process.
Changes which include creating a provincial missing persons unit. Police wouldn't comment on Cindy's case.
So they actually climb up and into the window. They had to board up that.
Ketchum searched homes like this looking for Cindy earlier this year. It is one of many abandoned houses in her West End neighborhood.
And I've seen evidence of a woman living in there, sandwiches, and there was a little diary written by her, condoms and needles.
Ketchum worries that the next missing persons case could be a friend, a family member, or worse, herself. Stephanie Cram, CBC News, Winnipeg.
People have been braving the hot sun, spending hours in line at the Forks to pick up treaty payments. Many are collecting several years' worth since they didn't have a chance to get their money during the COVID-19 pandemic. Even so, it's not a lot of money. And some First Nations groups say it's time the treaty payment system was updated. CBC's Emily Brass joins us now live from the Forks to explain more of this. Emily, just how does it work?
Well, Janet, the payments happen in these tents here. They've closed down for the evening, but there's been a steady stream of hundreds of people coming down to collect their treaty payments. Now, the federal government pays First Nations people who are registered under the Indian Act and who are affiliated with the 11 numbered treaties a payment of $5 each per year. And there have been long lineups as people come to get what most consider a symbolic payment. Now, the treaty annuities go back to the late 1800s, and in the early days, the payments from the Crown also considered things like, included things like ammunition and twine for nets, but now the payments just include the $5 sum, an amount that has not gone up once since they were established. And people say they still come down to get that small amount of money because it's a matter of principle.
I'm kind of sad about that because they even took away our ammunition and our cattle and our flour we used to get. All we get is a measly $5 now, and they inflate all of our groceries, but they can't inflate our little $5, you know?
It's not really realistic now with all the inflation and everything like that.
It's a lot of people that have been waiting for a while to get their funds, right? Because when COVID was happening, right, people couldn't collect it because there was nowhere to go for it. I've been in line for probably about 2.5 hours now, and I'm still waiting. And it's hot, and my kids are tired.
I enjoy it actually because every time I come, I see cousins I haven't seen in years, and I get hugs. So it's nice to stand in line and greet people I haven't seen for so long.
It means a lot to me. It's very symbolic. It's $5, but very symbolic. You know, we signed treaties to give up our land so we could make a good relationship with the government. It's been kind of rocky, but we're getting better.
Now, of course, $5 isn't a lot of money, Emily. Are people calling for the payments to go up?
That's right, Janet. Not a lot of money at all. In fact, you can't even get round-trip bus fare with that amount of money these days. The Modern Annuity Working Group says that amount is insulting. It says if you were to adjust for inflation since 1871, when Treaty 1 was signed, those $5 payments would be more like $115. But they say either way, there should be a model of payment that acknowledges the value of the land that was ceded by Indigenous people. And the group says it's crunched the numbers and says a payment of $7,500 to $9,000 would be more reasonable. Meanwhile, for people who qualify and haven't come down to get their $5 payment yet, there's one more day. The tents will be open again tomorrow from noon to 5. Janet?
Thank you so much, Emily. CBC's Emily Brass reporting live tonight from the Forks. Voters in 2 federal ridings in Manitoba still have a few more hours to go vote in advance by-election polls. By-elections are underway in Winnipeg South Centre and Portage-Lisgar. Advance polls are open in both ridings until 9 p.m. After that, you'll have to wait until by-election day, which is 1 week from today, June 19th. Nearly $11,000 was raised over the weekend at an equestrian-themed fundraiser for former jockey Elisa Selman. Selman was 29 years old when she was thrown from her horse during a race at Assiniboia Downs. That was back in June 2015. She suffered a spinal cord injury and became paralyzed from the chest down. Now, 8 years later, Selman's friends and family organized this fundraiser to help her buy a new lightweight wheelchair, which they hope will help her be more independent.
This fundraiser today was put together by family and friends to help Elisa Selman raise proceeds for a new wheelchair. The wheelchair she presently has been using since her accident 8 years ago is barely holding together. and she's having troubles getting around, and it's something she needs to be able to achieve independence in her life and to be able to do things like a normal person can.
Oh, it's amazing. I had a lot of friends and family pull everything together. A lot of planning went into it and a lot of arranging, and the amount of donations and prizes was incredible.
We've got 5 equestrian events going on. 2 of them are already completed. The 3rd one is presently on the go, and we have 2 more after this. Alyssa is one of those types of people that everybody likes. She's got a great personality, and she's always willing to do for you, so it's nice to see something good be brought back to her.
I'm needing a tie-light wheelchair. Like, it's a lighter weight wheelchair because I am so small, like 85 pounds. I have to lift this thing over me into the car all the time. The chair I have now is falling apart, like bearings, the wheels will fall off of it if I'm not careful, so it's a little precarious, and I'm just trying to get through till we can make enough to order this one.
I hope the best of what's possible can happen to Alyssa. I hope she can keep her mobility. I hope the proceeds from this fundraiser can provide her with a wheelchair and more necessities she needs to carry out a normal life for her. So I think that's what would be nice to see happen today.
That was a wonderful event. They raised more than enough than they need for the wheelchair. She'll even be able to spend a little more on something extra.
Well, that's great news.
Holy moly, today was lovely. Like, it's hot out there, but it didn't feel as uncomfortable and humid.
Well, you remember last week when we were all sweating and complaining about the humidity? That's when the dew point temperature was up around 19 or 20. Well, today it was 7 or 8. So that's the difference, and that's what we look at when we think about how humid it is. You look at the dew point temperature, not the relative humidity, really. Have a look at the temperatures, because on this next graphic here, you've got the dew point, and right now we're at 29 degrees, and the dew point is 7, so fairly comfortable, although UV, and I'm going to talk about this in a second too, UV is still way up there, so boy, if you're working outside, even outside for an hour, hour and a half at a picnic or something, you really have to protect your skin with some sunscreen. Northwest winds today at 15 kilometers per hour, and you know, there wasn't a lot of haze today, but there will be as we head into tonight and tomorrow, and I'll explain. But UV index for tomorrow is at 8, so very high. You need to seek shade, apply sunscreen often, drink lots of water. It is a clear sky pretty much all across the province. One little blip, and this is right around Swan River, where right now we don't have a watch or a warning in effect, but there is a storm that has formed in the last hour right around Swan River and just to the west of that area, sitting right on the Manitoba-Saskatchewan border. A little bit of lightning. This one doesn't qualify as a severe storm, but certainly you want to get out of the way, and that's this line on Futurecast right here. And that's part of the front that's attached to the low-pressure system in northern Manitoba. As that front moves to the south, the rain along it, the chance of showers kind of dissipates as we head into the night tonight, but what it will do in the upper levels is allow some of that smoke from fires to the west to move into our area as we head into tonight and tomorrow. So tomorrow we've got a chance for a shower out around Brandon. I don't think so here in the Red River Valley, but there's a slight chance of a shower through northwestern Ontario, specifically Kenora and Fort Francis. And then we are clear into Wednesday. Wednesday looking like a pretty straight up sunny day province-wide. And then we see a system rolling in for Wednesday afternoon into the extreme northwest. And then in the southwest, we could see some action again as far as a scattered shower or thunderstorm. Thursday, or this is middle of the night, Wednesday into Thursday, lots of action going on to the west of us, and it'll be Thursday night before that really starts to move into southern Manitoba. So tonight, 14 degrees. To get a heat warning, we need to be 16 or warmer at night, and then a little bit warmer during the day. So we won't see heat warnings when our lows are going to be 13 to 14 over the next several nights. 20 degrees in the morning and a bit hazy, and this haze will be at 31 degrees tomorrow. I'm still expecting dew points to be a little bit on the low side, so more comfortable humidity-wise, but still 29s on Wednesday and Thursday, and then a system Thursday night, overnight, and into Friday. So it'll be afternoon, evening, overnight, and maybe a few showers left over on Friday morning, and a slightly cooler Friday on the way, Janet. So if 29s and 30s are too hot, Friday's your day.
Okay, looking forward to it. We'll check in with you a little later.
You bet.
You know, this is June. It's Pride season. It's been an emotionally charged Pride season for many people in the 2S LGBTQ+ community. Transgender rights have been rolled back recently in several states. Hateful comments continue to spread online. After a fellow trustee from the Louis Riel School Division was suspended for posting transphobic things to her Facebook page, Ryan Palmquist decided he needed to publicly come out as bisexual. I spoke with him today about why he made that decision. That big decision.
So I'm bisexual, and I've known that I have been, or an evolving understanding of myself since I was in my early 20s. And I've been open and out to most of my friends and family for a lot of years, but never really saw a reason or a need to make a big public announcement. But in response to, our board suspended Trustee Champagne, and then I had the thought that, it was good that what we did, and the board sent a strong message to the families in the division. But I had the thought that it's those gay kids and transgender kids and their families and the whole community that are the ones who are at risk. They're the ones who are potentially subject to bullying, potentially even subject to violence. And that was what really scared me about Trustee Champagne's comments, is that we've seen in the last few years in the United States and even sometimes in Canada that there is a growing tide of extremism and of conspiracy, paranoid movements that are sometimes capable of violence. And I felt that if there was a person in a leadership position in our division who was putting that out there, that was potentially putting them at risk. And I reflected on the fact that it's not me at risk. I will be fine. I present as a heterosexual man. No one would guess otherwise by looking at me, married to a woman with 3 kids. And I could make a statement, that we support them, but I would really be hiding myself because it was safer and easier for me personally. And I started to feel like that was a little bit selfish of me, that it was more convenient for me to hide. And so I felt I sort of owed it to those families and those kids to put myself out there with them and be vulnerable with them.
And what kind of response have you heard?
Well, it's been overwhelmingly positive from everyone that I know and lots of complete strangers around the city. However, there has been a small amount of very belligerent homophobic trolling, which I expected. But that trolling was also kind of validating in the sense that that was why I made that decision, because I knew it was out there, and I knew that that's the kind of thing that some of these youth are subjected to, and I needed to be subjected to it with them, in solidarity with them, I think, so that we can push back against it and confront it together. As for my wife, she's 100% in my corner and an ally of me and the whole community.
There are people who seem to be concerned that talking about gay issues, about LGBTQ plus issues, will encourage more children to be gay.
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
Well, during my campaign, I encountered that attitude a lot. There are, far from a majority, of course, but from an unsettling number of people. There is a growing, basically, conspiracy movement that is gaining steam all over the world and here, that thinks that creating safe spaces for gay youth amounts to grooming, and that it's sexual, that they're sexual predators, and it's a very, very dangerous trend, because people have gotten hurt, and more people will get hurt if it doesn't stop. And I think, if to the extent that I can influence that at all, I wanted to step forward and just show myself like I'm a normal person, I'm a community member, and I'm not a threat to anyone. And neither is anyone else.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up, the federal government says help is on the way as more than 400 wildfires burn across our country. Tens of thousands of Canadians are still out of their homes. We'll have the latest on the story after the break.
The Manitoba Marathon is right around the corner, and CBC Manitoba is a proud sponsor of Stride for 45. That's 45 new runners taking part in the marathon for the very first time. Now, if you're not one of the 45 who are running, we have here certified running coach Sarah Carroll, who will give you some tips on how you can start running. Hi there, Sarah.
Hello.
So tips for people who have maybe never run before, or maybe have kind of done this occasionally, but really want to get into running. What are some of your tips for those who are starting out running?
Yeah, of course. So the first tip I always recommend to people is walking, and it sounds simple. People are often confused when I suggest walking. Making sure you can walk for a long period of time without any pain, any sort of large fatigue. And then once you can do that, you can start doing walk and run intervals. So every week you should be increasing the amount you're running compared to the amount you're walking, and then over time you'll get running consistently. And once you hit about that 20-minute mark where you're consistently running, you can just build up from there.
So walking is one of your key tips. What's another tip that you have for beginners?
Yeah, so making sure that we're cross-training, getting on a bike, maybe getting in the pool, running, swimming some laps, getting under some weights, so making sure that we're cross-training, and of course making sure we're getting adequate sleep and eating enough for our new activity.
Great tips. Walking, cross-training will get you on the road to running, right?
Of course.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah.
No problem.
The Manitoba Marathon is Sunday, June 18th. Visit cbc.ca/Manitoba/community and click on the link for more.
The federal government says more than 30,000 Canadians remain out of their homes on evacuation alerts as more than 400 wildfires burn across our country. Nearly half of these fires are considered out of control. While the latest weather forecasts are not promising, Ottawa says more resources to fight the fires are coming. Marina von Stackelberg reports.
More help has arrived. A new batch of 70 Canadian soldiers has been deployed to Edson, west of Edmonton. A rapidly growing fire about 2 kilometers from the town has forced evacuations, where a change of wind could dramatically change the situation for the worse.
We're doing our best to build containment lines as quickly as possible around communities, critical infrastructure like power lines, etc.
It's Monday morning. We're here.
The community's mayor showing Monday morning just how quickly things can change.
This is much different than yesterday. Yesterday was clear, sunny. It was like nothing was going on today. A lot of smoke.
This now qualifies, unfortunately, as Canada's worst wildfire season of the 21st century.
In an update in Ottawa, the Canadian government says 5,000 people are now fighting the fires across the country.
The firefighters have done an extraordinary job fighting these fires to date, and when the provinces and territories have asked for additional help, we've been able to get that help. The response internationally has been nothing short of extraordinary.
More than 1,000 international firefighters are on the ground. Hundreds more from Spain, Portugal, Chile, and Costa Rica are on their way. Much needed reinforcements, as there is no sign Mother Nature will help.
I sigh because I don't really have a lot of good news.
Environment Canada warns the forecast for the week does not look good.
We don't see lots of rain for places that have the most active fires, especially in Quebec. And on top of that, only showers are in the forecast with thunderstorms. Lightning, especially later for the week.
Asked whether it's time for Canada to consider a national firefighting service, Ottawa says officials on site have the information to make the right call quickly, and that the federal government can always help when needed. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
Security is ramping up outside a Miami courthouse. Former U.S. President Donald Trump is due there tomorrow to face federal charges about national security. The CBC's Idil Musa has the story.
Authorities in Miami say they're ready for Donald Trump's unprecedented court appearance Tuesday. The former president is facing dozens of charges over his alleged mishandling of classified documents, and police are preparing for protests from his supporters and his opponents.
We hope that tomorrow will be peaceful. We encourage people to be peaceful in them demonstrating how they feel, and we're going to have the adequate forces necessary to ensure that.
Trump is the first former president in U.S. history to face federal charges, but many of his supporters are downplaying the 49-page indictment, calling it politically motivated, as Trump vies to secure the Republican nomination for president. But one former Trump official says the charges are serious.
Not only is it powerful, it's very narrowly tailored. They didn't throw everything up against the wall to see what would stick. This really is a rifle shot, and I think it should be the end of Donald Trump's political career.
Across from Mar-a-Lago estate, Trump loyalists say they'll stand by him.
No matter what, he's the person that actually has made America better than what it was, and now it seems to be going downhill.
As Trump prepares to surrender to authorities in Miami Tuesday, he's encouraging his supporters to protest outside the courthouse. Idil Musa, CBC News, Washington.
NATO kicked off its biggest ever Air Force exercise today in Germany. It's a show of force as the war on Europe's doorstep grinds on. In southeastern Ukraine, Kyiv has stepped up its push to try to retake territory lost to Russian forces. And the Ukrainian military says it is making gains. Abby Dawson has the details.
Ukraine says it has recaptured several villages along the front line in western Donetsk. It also says it took part in 25 battles along that front line as well in the last day alone. Moscow has not yet confirmed that it's lost any territory, but some prominent Russian bloggers have indicated that Ukraine has retaken 2 villages, including that of Blagodatne. Ukraine's 68th Brigade did post an unverified video on social media showing its troops hoisting the Ukrainian flag over that settlement. Analysts say these are very modest gains early in the counteroffensive, but of course, Kyiv has repeatedly said that every inch of its land matters, every inch of its land is significant. Meanwhile, NATO has kicked off its largest air deployment exercises here in Germany, the largest in its 70-year history. It is essentially a response, a collective NATO response should one of the member states be attacked. Germany is hosting and overseeing these drills. The German military says there are some 10,000 participants from 25 nations, including 250 aircrafts. About 100 of them are American jets. The Germans say they have multiple operation locations here in the country, including 3 hubs that are routinely used for military training exercises, but they did say there could potentially be flight disruptions for civilian flights as well. Now, these exercises have been in the works for several years now, but given Russia's wider scale invasion of Ukraine last year, they have taken on an added significance as the alliance shows its strength and its ability to defend itself. Abby Kwaldassen, CBC News, Berlin.
A man in Australia has been charged with dangerous driving after 10 wedding guests were killed in a bus he was driving. Police say 25 other people were injured.
The police are investigating it, and any of these matters are always traumatic for everyone that attends, and especially for the family involved as well.
It happened late last night. The bus was in a roundabout when it flipped on its side. The vehicle was taking wedding guests from a winery northwest of Sydney. Police took in the 58-year-old driver for mandatory drug testing. They say the cause of the crash may not be known for some time. Sunday's crash is the most deadly traffic accident in Australia in more than 30 years. Silvio Berlusconi, former Italian Prime Minister and media mogul, has died in Milan. The 86-year-old was hospitalized Friday with a lung infection stemming from chronic leukemia. Berlusconi was the country's longest-serving premier in post-war Italy. Both his political and personal life have been riddled with controversies. One of the most notorious scandals involved the so-called Bunga Bunga sex parties with underage girls. He saw Russia's Vladimir Putin and late Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi as close global allies. A state funeral is planned at the Milan Cathedral on Wednesday. It is the largest coral restoration project in the world. We'll show you how scientists in Florida are hoping to save their coral reefs after the break. Scientists in Florida are on an urgent mission to save coral reefs. Many fear the warming ocean will kill the sensitive organism which supports aquatic life. CBC international climate correspondent Susan Ormiston explores the largest coral restoration project in the world.
We are in Looe Key, just off the coast of Florida, with scientists from Mote Marine Laboratory who are looking at the effects of a warming ocean. Below us are coral reefs which have suffered from that warming ocean water, which can bleach them and make them more susceptible to disease. Also, large swaths have broken off from hurricanes, overfishing, and boating recreation. So now there's just 2% of viable coral left here. Back on shore, scientists are growing live coral and to breed coral, which may be more resistant to warmer water and other threats. And then they bring them out here to replant them on the existing reefs. They put it on with epoxy and stick a new bit of baby coral on that reef. The idea is to grow and outplant 500,000 baby coral in 7 of the most important reefs here in the Florida Keys. Back in April, scientists were alarmed when there was a spike in the temperature of the ocean, and they're worried about a coming weather pattern, El Nino, which might elevate that temperature even further. So it's urgent. This project, Mission Iconic Reefs, is the largest coral restoration project in the world. And scientists are going to be monitoring this coral for years. Susan Ormiston, CBC News in the lower Florida Keys.
Meteorologist John Sauder joins us once again. It is concerning to think of the coral reefs of diving. I know you're a snorkeler, I'm a diver, to think of them being in such trouble.
Yeah, the number that stuck out to me there was 2%. That's
Yeah.
what's left of, that's shocking and heartbreaking, really. So I hope that all works out, that project.
Yes.
A 30-degree day today across parts of southern Manitoba. What I want to show you, though, is some smoke. We're going to go back in time and show you what was happening over the weekend. That's Friday night. Now, this is the smoke plume from all those fires that you see in Saskatchewan, Alberta. As we go through time to this time, Monday, we've got the heavier smoke to the north. And I was talking about this earlier, how a frontal system is going to allow that to kind of sink into southern Manitoba and the eastern prairies tonight into tomorrow. So could be more of a white sky as opposed to a blue sky tomorrow due to the haze that's in the air. Right now, 29 at the airport and downtown. Oh, we got a 30 in Morris, and we were shooting for 30 degrees today in Winnipeg. Almost made it, but the warmth is right across from the west back to the east, mid-20s in northwestern Ontario. Northern Manitoba today looking at some pretty high temperatures around Flin Flon and the Pas, but just 10 in Thompson, 0 right now in Churchill, and some showers possible tonight and tomorrow. There's the frontal system that will be mostly in the upper levels and allow some of that smoke to move into southern Manitoba. This right here is the thunderstorm activity I was talking about earlier, just around the Swan River area. That will dissipate through the late evening hours. Lows tonight under relatively clear skies in northwestern Ontario, anywhere between 10 and 14. We've got a 14 in Winnipeg. Pretty clear here in the southeast tonight, overnight. And then out to the west, we've got that risk of an evening thunderstorm around Swan River, kind of happening right now for the early evening. And it will, like I say, dissipate later. Other areas in the southwest, partly cloudy. We've got a chance of showers around Churchill, already at 0, but 1 is the forecast low. And you can see that a lot of single digits here, some cooler air to the north. And then tomorrow we get back into the 20s for Norway House, Flin Flon, the Pas, Island Lake at 13, Thompson at 14 tomorrow, and a sunny 8 in Churchill. Then in southern Manitoba, we are looking at just that slight chance of an afternoon shower, maybe a thunderstorm around Brandon and anywhere to the southwest of Brandon. Otherwise, most of us are in the sunny heat once again, with temps in the 30s around Winnipeg, Emerson, the Red River Valley generally, and then 28s and 29s in southeastern Manitoba. Could see a shower in the afternoon in Kenora and Fort Frances, but another warm day with a sun-cloud mix.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
The The MMIWG final report called for changes to the way health and wellness systems deal with the Indigenous community. We're going to look at that next. You're watching CBC. Since last week, we've been bringing you stories that speak to the progress made in the 4 years since the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls issued a report calling for change. Some of those calls were for health and wellness providers. One included recognizing Indigenous people's expertise in healthcare. 5 of those 9 calls have not been started. 4 are in progress.
Hi, my name is Lisa Courier. I'm the Regional Addiction Counselor for a program called Manitoba Mobile Addiction Team. I'm from Nelson House, Manitoba, Treaty 5 territory, and the traditional name for my community is Nisichawasi Cree Nation. We know what we need to heal. We have unlimited amounts of the medicines that we use on the land that we live on. We use the land and the water, the plants and the animals in our healing. We use our elders and our teachings and our languages and our songs for our healing. So when we leave our community, we're leaving all our healing methods behind. And you're often coming into a big city like Winnipeg with little supports and easier access to substances that you might be addicted to. So it's a precarious situation, and also more dangerous for our Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit who come to the city, who are targeted for exploitation and violence, so far from their families, their children, and their community that fully supports them and loves them. Again, it's about building up the skills of the frontline workers in the community. They're there, they have the passion, they have the drive and the commitment to help their people and their communities. But you're kind of left with the huge gap of missing funding, missing support from the governments for the things that we need. And then chiefs and councils have to do things like call states of emergencies and cry out for help. True justice to me would be having access to addiction services and health services right in the community. It would be, justice would be training our own people and our own experts in our own communities.
We'll be right back.
Well, this is the time of year when you have some of our latest sunsets. And, you look at the times today, 9:37. In 2 weeks, 9:41. That's about as late as it gets. And then in 3 weeks, it starts to go in the other direction. Here is your long-range forecast. And 31 tomorrow, then a pair of 29s Wednesday, Thursday. Could see a system Thursday night and on into Friday morning, bringing a cooler day Friday. But the heat returns again on the weekend with plenty of sunshine. It was the night the Blue Bombers fans were waiting for. The season opener kicked off Friday night at IG Field in Winnipeg.
Absolutely. Of course, the Bombers won that game, beating the Hamilton Tiger Cats 42-31. Yeah. Now, we thought you might enjoy seeing how diehard fans celebrated the new season before the game even began with a tailgate party. Here's your daily lift.
Bacon, onions, and mushrooms, getting ready for the burgers, getting it prepped, and then gonna start putting the burgers on once we get some room here, and then gonna eat.
It's kind of been a week-long kind of planning and organization, and now kind of going with the whole burger on the flat top and beers and kind of the whole atmosphere for getting the game going.
The bacon looks yummy, Stan. Oh, yeah. It's very enjoyable. We have a great time doing it with all the friends that we have together, and it's just a great camaraderie is awesome.
Very important to me. We've done it since the new stadium has opened, and the camaraderie and the friends come and people we don't even know join us and that, and we feed them and we give them some beverages. 7-Up, Coke, and Pepsi, of course. We don't drink at all here.
Well, this is my first tailgate party, to be honest. So I've never been to a tailgate party here, and this is so far I'm loving this. This is going to be the Bomber event. So yeah, I'll definitely do this every time.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, we're always excited to go. My family and me have been a big fan of the Bombers for a long time, kind of generations to generation. So it's always home opener is always a fun day.
All the tailgates, all Grey Cups, been coming to Grey Cups since 1979.
It just pumps you up, and you get to talk to other people, because when you're in the game, you're busy cheering and stuff. Go Blue!
Go Blue! And they went, and they won.
They did win, but do the people tailgating, they actually get to go to the game too, right?
Well, yes, they do, because, they have a ticket.
Of course.
Well, of course. Thank you for being with us. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Have a good night.